Well, thank you for returning as we continue to look at the case for abstinence. And what I want to do today is two things. I want to try to show the reason why abstinence is declining. I want to show the reasons why abstinence is declining. First of all, there are poor role models. How someone is raised can have a profound impact on his or her thinking and behavior. If a child or a teen is raised in a home where dad displays anger towards his wife, and the wife, to avoid domestic abuse, leaves her husband alone, that child sees that anger has a positive effect. Dad was left alone. But someone shows this young person the powerful negative effects. You have the breeding grounds for a second generation. In biblical counseling, this is called preconditioning. A role model is anyone that someone looks up to. He or she can be a parent, a teacher, principal, Hollywood celebrity, sports figure, or neighbor. When role models do not live with self-control or have standards or abstain from societal evils, their influence can impress the next generation. Deluded abstinence philosophy. As mentioned earlier, because the church has portrayed an abstinence policy of legalism, and because the federal and state governments have interceded, the brand of abstinence is relative. The prevalent abstinent teaching, either by local or by program, drives any rules of conduct or behavior. For example, in the Bible Belt, it may contain a higher value, this concept of abstinence, while in other parts of the country it's not as important. This subjectivism shapes the standard of abstinence and any resulting practice. And the lack of parental instruction. The Rocky Mountain Family Council writes, quote, "Can parents make a difference in helping their kids choose abstinence? Definitely. Studies show that parents can have the most dramatic impact on their children's behavior if they clearly define what they expect their children to do and not to do." It continues, "It is best to share these family guidelines in the context of everyday life and not during some specifically orchestrated sex talk. As a parent, when you see a moment to share truth with your kids, take advantage of that moment. Those moments may include talking after attending a wedding or explaining a bad example you see in the media. Abstinence is best taught in the context of everyday family life." Those words certainly sound like Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 to 7 that says, "These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up." Single-parent homes is a reason why abstinence is declining. God's designed homes to consist of two opposite sex parents, a mom and a dad, a male and a female. God designed marriage to be permanent. God says he hates divorce. Single-parent homes may be at all-time high in our day, and most of the single-parent homes are female. Mom is called to be the breadwinner, disciplinarian, educator, coach, and teacher, besides work full-time and perhaps even hold a part-time job to make ends meet. Fatigue sets in, coupled with bitterness and anger that her ex is living the high life with his girlfriend. She reaches out for assistance. She finds the school with its pre and after school programs and everything in between, one being sex or abstinence education. She is thankful that someone will teach her children about this so they don't have to learn it on the streets or from their friends. Influence of the media. What the schools or friends do not convey, media will. Media is a good actor. It plays to the audience. Some audiences need only a little influence, a little skin or touching, or scantily dressed actress, while other audiences have graduated and require more stimulation, nudity, and even more. Media is television, cable, video, DVDs, music, and whatever those whom use these tools to sell their version of abstinence to target their audience. Culturally defined standards. Students are taught it's your choice. Only you know when it's right. Why one student may wait until they are 22 and another indulges at 14 is determined by what they have come to believe as influenced by false teaching and others' experiences. And then finally, mockery of the concept. Carol Everett, who formerly operated several abortion clinics, says that when she spoke at public schools, quote, the first thing was to get the students to laugh at their parents. That way they won't go home and tell their parents what I told them. So here are 7 reasons why abstinence is declining, and I'm sure we can add more to that. But I want to move on and talk about this question for a moment. Who has taken over the role of abstinence teaching, and are they effective? Seeing that it has declined in the church, in spiritually educational facilities, Bible college and seminaries, and in the home, because the pulpit is weak in this area, who has taken over, and are they being effective? Well, the federal and state governments sponsor abstinence training. Since 1997, when federal government became involved, Congress has authorized nearly $1.5 billion in abstinence training programs. Over the past 5 years, from 1997, $250 million have been distributed to each of the continental United States, in other words, each state. For every $1 spent on abstinence education, $4.50 is spent on sex education. The programs available are too numerous to be specific. To qualify for consideration of federal funding, the program must have as their exclusive purpose teaching the social, psychological, and health gains to be realized by abstaining from sexual activity. Among other conditions, abstinence-only programs must also convey that a mutually faithful monogamous relationship in the context of marriage is the expected standard of human sexual activity, and that sexual activity outside of the context of marriage is likely to have harmful psychological and physical effects. They have a two-prong approach. First of all, they use scare tactics by portraying the horrific details of sexually transmitted diseases, unwanted pregnancy, never fulfilling personal life goals, being a single parent, and possibly poverty. They say that knowledge is power. Knowing what we will reap before we sow can be an effective tool, but in this area, is that an effective tool? 30 years ago, doctors recognized only 2 STDs, syphilis and gonorrhea. Both are curable, Today, there are over 25 different STDs generating more than 13 million new cases. Half are incurable. In 1998, Kaiser Family Foundation reported by the age of 24, at least 1 in 3 sexually active people are estimated to have contracted an STD. HPF is the most common STE in young sexually active women in the U.S. Estimated 45 million new cases occur each year. The second approach is to promote safe sex. If you're going to be sexually active, as most sex educators think, then let's show you how to have safe sex to prevent an STD and unwanted pregnancy. This is taught as a means of abstinence. However, we must understand this more as a result rather than the mindset that affects decisions. So, is abstinence education working? And I propose to you, no, it's not. Now, next time we get together, we want to talk about abstinence education or sex education, and there's a difference between the two. I hope you'll continue with us on this study. I know it's not the most pleasant topic, but with its decline over the last several decades and what we are seeing as another sexual cultural revolution, we need to get reacquainted with this. We need to embrace the Bible's teaching on abstinence, not only in this area, but in many other areas as well, so we can help the next generation to avoid the pitfalls that we are seeing today. I hope you'll continue with us in the next broadcast. Thank you so much for tracking with us.